are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for all right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Tuesday, June 18th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is gsmcpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So with that being said, let's get into what we are going to talk about for today. So we're going to start off the show. We're going to get into more Brandon Aiyuk stuff. Another social media post that we're going to break down and talk about as the saga continues here in the offseason. So we'll get into that. Then in the second part of the show, I will continue my schedule breakdowns. So today we will be doing the New England Patriots schedule. Yesterday we did the Jets schedule. So this will be the last team that we do in the AFC East. And then tomorrow we will get into the AFC North, which we will talk about later in the show. Then in the third part of the show, well, we will get into an AFC North team in the third segment. We'll talk about some comments made by Browns general manager Andrew Berry on Deshaun Watson, so we'll get into that. Then in the fourth part of the show, I'll talk about Sean McVay, some comments he made, just how he feels rejuvenated with this young team now that they have in LA with the Rams. So I'll get into that. And then in the final part of the show, we'll talk about the announcement of the AFC North, the division as a whole, being on Hard Knocks. So I'll get into that as well. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about Brandon Aiyuk. And he's another guy that has been a story this offseason. He's looking for that new contract. Now, there was another social media post recently, and it was posted on his TikTok, and he was talking to Commanders rookie quarterback Jayden Daniels, and they were former teammates back in college. And he told Jayden Daniels that they don't want him back. Now, he didn't specify as to who he was talking about, but we can all assume that he was talking about the 49ers. Now, talks between Aiyuk and the 49ers have stalled when it comes to a new contract. It doesn't seem like there's any momentum. Aiyuk is in the final year of his rookie contract. And right now, his salary cap hit is a little over $14 million. Now, we've seen a lot of wide receivers get paid this offseason. A lot. We've even seen a couple of players on his own team get paid. Juwan Jennings got a new contract. I mean, he's not making a ton of money compared to some of the other receivers that got paid. But Christian McCaffrey also got a contract extension as well. But across the league, you've seen Amon-Ra St. Brown get a new deal, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins, just to name the main guys that got paid. And I don't know if I might be forgetting. Oh, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, a bunch of guys have gotten paid. And we're still waiting on Brandon Aiyuk. And, from the moment that the 49ers lost the NFC Championship, well, actually not the NFC Championship game, the Super Bowl, they lost the Super Bowl, it's just kind of been this back and forth with Brandon Aiyuk, where he's just posting stuff on social media. Because, way back, early on in the offseason, he posted something that said, talking about the impact that he had. that I don't know, that they wouldn't have gotten this far without me, or something along the lines of that. And it's just we've gotten so many social media posts, or a handful of social media posts from Brandon Aiyuk, and now this is the latest in that. So, and now it's like, oh, maybe the Commanders will, get Brandon Aiyuk, because there is someone, I think the general manager for the Commanders, he was with the 49ers previously, so there's a connection there, so maybe he could end up getting traded there. That's just speculation. But there's definitely teams that are keeping an eye on this. And it's possible that he could get traded before next season. And I know that Deebo Samuel's name has also been floated around in trade rumors as well. But could be, I feel like it's more likely that we're going to see Brandon Aiyuk get traded out of these two. Now, they drafted Ricky Pearsall, who I think has a similar skill set to Deebo Samuel, where they could line him up in the backfield and do all of the kind of things that Deebo can do in this offense. So I guess maybe it would make more sense that you trade Deebo, but it just seems like Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers could be parting ways before we get to next season. And that's going to have a huge impact on the team, because you got a quarterback that many people believe that, he's not as good as his numbers are because of the kind of offense that he plays in. And I do think to an extent that that's a valid point, because you saw last year when the 49ers had a couple of injuries, Deebo Samuel was out and Trent Williams was out, Brock Purdy struggled. The offense struggled a little bit. And they had that 3-game skid. But then once everybody came back, the 49ers righted the ship and they rode it all the way to the Super Bowl. So I do understand from that perspective that, yeah, if you take away some of these weapons that Brock Purdy has, he's not going to be as good. But I think you also have to give him credit that he's part of a team that has gotten to back-to-back NFC Championship games and last year got to a Super Bowl. And he was the last pick in the draft. And he was able to do this. Like, we can't sit here and say, oh, if you put anybody in that situation, they're going to do it. No. There are quarterbacks that if you put them in that situation, they are not going to deliver like Brock Purdy. Because if that was the case, when they put in Josh Johnson, now he also got hurt in the game against the Eagles, then Josh Johnson should have been able to go out there and, win the game against the Eagles. You can't just put anybody in that situation. So you got to give Brock Purdy credit. But, yeah, if you take away one of these guys like Aiyuk, it's going to be different. It's going to be an adjustment. That's why I think they gave Juwan Jennings a new contract. To keep him on board just in case they lose one of their top guys. And that's why they went out and they drafted Ricky Pearsall. Because you just have no idea how this situation is going to play out. Now, I think, like I said, we can all assume that he was talking about the 49ers when they say they don't want him back. For me, I kind of took it as, well, they don't want you back on your price. The 49ers have a set price for you. Now, it's a negotiating process. So, yeah, maybe eventually you can meet somewhere in the middle. But the 49ers have a number, and Brandon Aiyuk has a number. And it just seems like there's no meeting in the middle at this point. And I know, and people have talked, and I think also people have talked about this, across the league. It's like now the 49ers are kind of at a disadvantage because now you've seen all these receivers getting paid these big contracts, and Brandon Aiyuk sitting there saying, I want that kind of money. And the 49ers are like, well, we can't give you that. We have a set price. I mean, I think it's kind of the same thing with the Cowboys, with CeeDee Lamb. Like, they're going to have to pay CeeDee Lamb at some point. Those two teams are dealing with it right now. Now, I think CeeDee Lamb deserves a bigger contract than Brandon Aiyuk. I think CeeDee Lamb is a better receiver. But both of these guys deserve to get paid. But I think also the 49ers, they are paying other players big money. Like, I took a look at their cap situation. Like, Trent Williams is making a ton of money. You got McCaffrey making a ton of money. Debo. You know, it's a lot of it's going to the offense. And, of course, you also have Nick Bosa on the defensive side of the ball. Fred Warner's making a decent amount of money as well. And eventually, you're going to have to pay Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's going to get paid a big contract. So, and I say this all the time, you're not going to be able to keep everybody. Somebody's going to have to go elsewhere. And I think based on the drama that's been around the 49ers with Aiyuk, yeah, it seems like it's only a matter of time before they just move off of him and he's playing elsewhere in 2024. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, you know, you hear John Lynch. I mean, how many times have I done a topic where John Lynch is talking about how they want him back? They're going to do everything they can to make sure that he's with the team in 2024 and beyond that. So I don't know where this "they don't want me back" is coming from. Now, he said that. He said it to Jaden Daniels. He's like, they really don't want me back. And he said he was dead serious. But I have a hard time believing that. I don't think it's true. But what do I know? I'm not close to the situation. But yeah, this is something that is going to continue as we go through the summer. And at some point, something's going to happen. Maybe the 49ers, they finally say, yeah, we're just going to have to trade you. But I think I saw that, yeah, Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel, the 49ers, I think, were taking calls on them, but I don't think they were getting very good offers. So that's why they didn't pull the trigger and, you know, trade one of these guys. Which I understand. Like, you want to get, you know, a good package out of these two. Now, it's if teams think the 49ers asking price is outrageous, then yeah, you're not going to agree to that. You're not just going to take any deal. And that goes for both sides. You know, the 49ers don't want to get lowballed. The other team doesn't want to get fleeced. But I don't know. It's something that we'll continue to keep an eye on. But right now, yeah, it looks like maybe Brandon Aiyuk's not going to be on the 49ers in 2024. And it's going to have a huge impact, like I said. So, but that's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think. Does Aiyuk get traded? Does he get a new deal with the Niners? Let me know in the comments. So we are going to take our first break of the show. And then when we come back, we will talk about the Patriots. We'll break down their schedule for 2024. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to talk about the Patriots schedule. We'll break it down. I'll continuing my schedule breakdowns. This is the last AFC East team that I will be doing for these schedule breakdowns. So let's get into it. So the Patriots are coming off of their worst season in a long time. Going 4-13 last season, I believe. It was not good. And it's a new era in Patriots football. There's no more Bill Belichick. You got a rookie quarterback now, but I don't think he's going to be starting right away. It seems like Jacoby Brissett will start the year. So you got Gerard Mayo now in the fold as the head coach. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, you look at this schedule, there's not going to be a ton of wins here. And I know when I've done my schedule breakdowns, it's like, this team's going to win this game. This team's going to win this game. But then when I get to the end of the schedule and I say I feel like they can get another win or two, I'll tack them on. But yeah, they got some tough games on their schedule here. And right off the bat, they take on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. And for me, I think that is going to be a loss. The Bengals, I talked about them yesterday with T. Higgins. This is going to be a big year for them if they're healthy. Now, the Bengals, they have the tendency, though, to get off to slow starts, I feel like. At least I know a couple years ago, they started off 0-2. Last year, I think it was the same thing because they lost to the Browns week 1, and I think they played the Ravens the following week. They were 0-2. But yeah, it's weird. They get off to these slow starts, but then they usually get right. Like the Bengals, they were looking really good in the middle of the year. Joe Burrow was healthy, and then he ends up getting hurt, and that was pretty much it for them. But I think the Bengals should get off on the right foot and win this game. So I'm going to say the Bengals win. So the Patriots start off 0-1. Now they got the Seahawks coming in. And the Seahawks have a rookie head coach themselves. Now for me, I like the Seahawks as a team better. Their offense. I'm curious to see how their defense is going to be now with Mike McDonald, who's a defensive-minded coach. We'll see how that plays out. It's going to be weird not seeing Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick on the sidelines this year. But yeah, you got two rookie head coaches going at it. This is a game I think the Patriots could win. I don't know if I'm going to say they will. Maybe they do. That one's kind of a toss-up game for me. Same thing with the Jets, because I did have the Jets sweeping the Patriots because Aaron Rodgers hopefully is going to play both games. But that's another team where I could see, or another pair of matchups where I could see the Patriots at least splitting. Just because, again, divisional game. I feel the same way about the Bills, too. Like, I feel like the Patriots could split with the Bills as well. I mean, look at last year. They ended up splitting with them. They actually, like, the second matchup in Buffalo, they were up by a couple scores, and then the Bills came back. So I feel like they could split with the Bills, and also because the Bills have kind of gone through some changes as well, so I don't know how they're going to be. I mean, they're going to be playing them late in the season, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But I feel like they could split with the Jets and the Bills. The Dolphins, I feel like the Dolphins at this point just kind of own the Patriots. So I feel like the Dolphins are going to sweep them because that's just how these last couple of years have gone. That's just me. So, yeah. I think at this point, though, so we're at about week 3, Patriots could be at least 1-2 or 0-3. I think that's how I look at it. 49ers, I mean, that's a loss. That's a loss. And like I said, I guess I don't know if my dog agrees with that because she started barking. No, that's a loss. Dolphins, like I said, I think the Dolphins will sweep them. That's a loss. The Texans, I mean, CJ Stroud didn't really play well on the road last year. No, I'm not going to take the Patriots in this game. I'm going to say the Texans do win. But there were games that CJ Stroud did struggle on the road. He did lose to the Jets. He did lose to even the Panthers. One of the Panthers' wins last year was against the Texans, which I find that hard to believe, but that did happen. But yeah, I'm going to say that's a loss as well. At the Jags, I think that's a winnable game as well, but I would still take the Jags. So that's another loss there. The Jets coming in, I think that's a loss. The Titans, I think, could be a win. Second-year quarterback Will Levis. We got to see what Will Levis is made of in his second season. I know we've talked about that a lot on the show. At the Bears, you got a rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams. But, I think the Bears should be a good team this year, in my opinion. I said 9-10 wins for them. So we'll see. The Rams, I think they should win, the Rams. So I would say that's a loss. I said they lose to the Dolphins. Colts coming in with Anthony Richardson. Hopefully he's playing at this point. His season got cut short last year. Could see that being a loss, but I could also see the Patriots winning that, possibly. The Cardinals, yeah, again, that's another toss-up game. I could see the Patriots winning that, but I feel like the Cardinals should win that. Like I said, they could split with the Bills. And the Chargers, the Chargers only won 6-0 against them last year when they played. Now, I'm not going to say that's going to happen again, but this could be a close game. We'll see. But I think looking at the schedule now, I'm not going to say the Patriots are going to win. Nothing. I'm going to say, I don't know why my dog is continuing to bark. I think my brother's having like a friend over or something. But anyways, yeah. So I'm going to say Patriots are going to get at least, maybe they get the same record as last year. They get about, like 4 wins. I think that's in around that ballpark, 4 or 5 wins. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to win 2, but we'll see. I want to give them a little bit more respect. I really didn't give the Panthers any respect because I still had them at like 2 wins, even though like they made improvements. But yeah, because like I said, I think the Seahawks, that game, it's possible they could win that. They still have, I think they still have a good defense. You got Matthew Judon returning, Christian Gonzalez, who got hurt last year in his rookie season. You're getting him back. I think that game they could win. I think they could split with the Jets, like I said. I feel like the Jags, the Titans, the Bears, I feel like those games, maybe they pull off an upset. The Cardinals. Yeah, I don't know. I see some wins in there, but I like I said, I think I could still see them. I think 4 or 5 wins. I give them a little bit of respect. I think that's fair. But yeah, it's gonna be different. Well, it has been different because we're used to seeing the Patriots, finishing at the top of the division, winning 12, 13 games a year. But those days are over. Those days are behind us, and this is a new era. So, for all we know, they could win 2 games. I don't know. But I think 4 wins. I think they finish around the same record. And it's a transition period because you got a young quarterback that probably isn't going to start right away, and I think Jacoby Brissett has been a serviceable backup. He's bounced around the league. He's been with, he was with the Patriots to start out his career. Then he went to the Colts. He was with the Dolphins. He was with the Browns. He was with the Commanders. Now he's back with the Patriots. Did I forget any other team that he was with? I think that's it. I don't think he's with anybody else. I have to go back and look. But I think that's every team that he's been with. So yeah, he's been around the league. And I think, and he's taking on the role of, kind of being that mentor for Drake May. It seems like in a good way. But we will have to wait and see. And we got a comment in the chat. Did you win it? WRA. I don't know. I really don't know what that means. But anyways, yeah. So I'm gonna say the Patriots get around 4-5 wins. Like I said, I think that's fair. I don't expect them to be very good, but you got a rookie head coach, you got a rookie quarterback, you got to give them some time to grow, and maybe they do surprise some people. Who knows? I mean, I still think the Patriots do have some talent on this team, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, like I said. Offense, I mean, they did draft a receiver as well, Jalen Polk. You're hoping Kendrick Bourne comes back. You got Ramondre Stevenson as well coming out of the backfield. I know they also added Antonio Gibson from Washington. They signed Hunter Henry to a big contract. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But we will have to wait and see. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it when talking about the Patriots schedule. Let me know what you guys think. How many games do you think the Patriots will win in 2024? Like I said, I think 4 or 5 games, around the same record as they had last year. But I feel like their schedule isn't a gauntlet. Like I said, I think there are a handful of winnable games on the schedule. But again, they might not be very good, so those winnable games might end up just being losses. So I tried to be fair. This is a building year for them, a rebuilding year for them, so we'll see how it goes. But before we go to break, just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is GSMCpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So, we're going to take our next break. When we come back, we will discuss some comments made by Andrew Berry, the general manager of the Browns, talking about Deshaun Watson, giving us updates on him. So I'll get into that when we return from our second break of the show. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about the Browns, some comments made by Browns general manager Andrew Berry on Deshaun Watson and his recovery from last year's injury. So we'll get into that. And I know, like I said, there were some comments in the chat, and I guess the individual was a little confused on the show. I guess they thought it was a game show. So, yeah, and then I guess they left now. So, yeah, I apologize. This isn't a game show. This is a podcast, football podcast. But make sure to check out all the other shows. Like I'll say at the end of the show today. Make sure to check out all of the other shows on the network to get more sports information. We got a ton of podcasts on the sports network. We've been doing this since September. Well, at least I've been hosting shows since September. But yeah, since then, The network has really grown. We have a lot of shows, a lot of variety. So make sure to check out all the other shows. And I will remind you guys at the end of my show here. So I wanted to get into what Andrew Berry had to say. Just some things on Deshaun Watson and his recovery. And I know I've talked about the Browns before and given you updates on Deshaun Watson, but we're going to give you some more. So this is what Andrew Berry had to say regarding Deshaun Watson. So he said, first and foremost, Deshaun has really worked his tail off during the rehabilitation process over the last several months. And he said this during an appearance on the Insiders on Monday. He's really actually ahead of schedule. He's really chomping at the bit to take the governor off, so to speak. But really, he's had a really nice spring. He's thrown the ball well. Did a really nice job during our 7-on-7 and team periods during this veteran minicamp. So we're excited as he gets into training camp and gets the pads on. He's making excellent progress. Honestly, if you didn't know he got hurt last year, you really wouldn't be able to tell the difference. We're very excited once camp starts. And then he also had some things to say about Nick Chubb as well, because Nick Chubb is, of course, working his way back from an injury. And he said, when we look at any member of our organization, it's important for us not to lose sight on the fact that we're dealing with people. What happened to Nick last year was very unfortunate. He had no desire to be anywhere besides Cleveland. We had no desire for that to be his last snap, or the last snap he would take in a Cleveland Browns jersey. Quite honestly, he's the heartbeat and pulse of our team, which to be honest, I kind of agree with that. He is a selfless individual. He works hard. He's an outstanding ball carrier and outstanding running back. I said this at my end of the season press conference coming into the year. I had a respect level for Nick Chubb. It was 10 out of 10. Exiting the season, it was probably a 20 out of 10 because this was a person who came in every day, 5:30, doing his rehab, working as if he was preparing for Sunday. I think that says something about him individually and as a professional. One of the moments that we're most looking forward to is the first time he runs out of that home tunnel for his debut of the 2024 season. So we're really excited to have him back and can't wait to get going with him. And then he also talked about Amari Cooper as well, which I'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, I had a lot to say about those two guys. I mean, the Browns, give them a lot of credit for what they were able to accomplish last year. I mean, 5 starting quarterbacks. I mean, really it was 4. They brought in Jeff Driscoll just to start the last game of the regular season. But still, 5 starting quarterbacks last year. You had injuries on the offensive line, in the backfield with Nick Chubb, of course. So, and they were able to make the playoffs. So you got to give credit to them that they were able to do that. And I think this is a big year for Deshaun Watson because the Browns have invested a lot in him, and he really hasn't delivered. He comes in, didn't really play that much in 2022. He really wasn't that good when he did play. And last year was kind of the same thing. And he ends up getting hurt. And, the Browns had to start P.J. Walker and DTR. And then eventually you get Joe Flacco. And you ride that to the playoffs. And they were one and done. But they want to see Deshaun Watson come out and have a Deshaun Watson type year. How he was with the Texans. With the Browns, I mean, he's got, over 2,200 yards. This is in total of the 2 years that he's been with the Browns. He's got over 2,200 yards, 14 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. We want to see better numbers out of him. And I don't know if we're going to get that because it has been a long time since we've seen Deshaun Watson play really good football because he missed the entire 2021 season. Now, the last full season that he did play, he passed for nearly 5,000 yards. He had 4,823 yards passing, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And the Texans were horrible his final season. He was solid. The Texans just were not good. Then you had, the off-the-field stuff happen. He missed the entire season. And he gets traded to Cleveland, played towards the end of the year. But, yeah, it wasn't great. And then really wasn't that good last year either. But who knows? Maybe he turns it around and we see the Deshaun Watson that we saw when he was with the Texans. But I'm not too sure of that. I don't really think we're going to see. I think we're going to see something in the middle. I don't think he's going to be awful, but I don't think that we're going to see the Deshaun Watson from Houston. I think he's still going to turn the ball over. He's going to be inaccurate. But having said that, that doesn't mean that I don't think that, he's going to be part of games that the Browns are going to win. I think he's going to have some good games here or there. But I think really what I'm trying to say is there's going to be a lack of consistency. That's really how I feel when it comes to Deshaun Watson. And there are many people that say they should have kept Baker Mayfield. But the Browns really thought by giving up draft capital that they gave up to get Deshaun Watson, they really, and signing him to that mega contract, they thought that they were getting someone that was going to take them to new heights. And it really just has not panned out that way. And they better hope that it pans out, because Andrew Berry, he could end up losing his job. Now, I don't think that's gonna. I don't think he's on the hot seat, but I think if we continue with Deshaun Watson as the starting quarterback of the Browns, and he's not living up to the contract, you're probably going to see some changes at the top of the organization. You might see Kevin Stefanski lose his job. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen this year, because the Browns would have to really have an awful season. Deshaun Watson would have to have a really bad season for them to really say, you know what, this is not working. And I think the Browns are going to be good, but I think also they're going to have to live with Deshaun Watson not playing well at times. And they play in a tough division, which is a division that we will talk about in a couple of segments here. Right now, I look at the Browns as either the third or fourth best team in the division. It's between them and the Steelers. Now, usually when you say a team is a third or fourth place team in a division, they're not very good. But that's not the case with the AFC North. The AFC North is, in my opinion, the best division in football. And it's going to continue to be that way next season. And listen, I said the Browns are the third best team, but the last game that Deshaun Watson played was against the Ravens. They had that comeback win against the Ravens, and he was a part of that. And they beat up on Joe Burrow and the Bengals in Week 1 in Cleveland. I think they shut out the Bengals in Week 1, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not like, and they also split with the Steelers. It's not like the Browns are not going to be able to hang with, the top two teams. They definitely can. They've shown that. But I don't know. I think with the healthy Joe Burrow and of course, with the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, the defense, Derrick Henry now in the fold, yeah, I think those teams are better. I would take those teams over the Browns. But let's not pretend that, the Bengals might have a question mark at quarterback when it comes to Joe Burrow's health. I feel like when it comes to Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, the question marks that I may have, it's more towards their health. Now, Lamar Jackson, he was able to stay healthy last year. But before that, the previous 2 seasons, yeah, he was hurt. the Ravens seasons kind of ended the same way. It was Lamar Jackson was playing well, and then he ended up getting hurt, and the Ravens ended up not really doing anything with those seasons. Bengals, they were the hottest team in the NFL at one point, or one of the hottest teams in the NFL. He gets hurt. That derails the Bengals season. You look at the Steelers, yeah, they got not really injuries, but they got a completely different quarterback room. So you could look at each quarterback situation within the division and say, there's some concerns here, there's some concerns here, there's some concerns here. But again, still, best division in football. And if Deshaun Watson can return to that elite level, like when he was with the Texans, that is going to be a huge boost for this team. It really is. And if you can get Nick Chubb back and kind of they're going to ease him back into it. I mean, he's not going to get a heavy workload to start the season. I mean, he shouldn't. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, but yeah, they're going to ease him back into it. And Jerome Ford, he did a nice job filling in last year. Kareem Hunt as well, but I don't think Kareem Hunt's a free agent. But yeah, it's going to be Jerome Ford. He's going to get the workload to start the year, and then I guess Chubb will gradually cut into his workload as we go through the season. Well, we got to see if Nick Chubb plays week 1. We got a long way to go, but yeah, I mean, to get those two back, even if Deshaun Watson is lacking when it comes to consistency, just having him back and Nick Chubb back, I think that's huge for this team. That's a huge boost for them, as my dog is now laying right outside my door. If you heard that thud, that's her plopping herself right by my bedroom door. So I did want to get into what he had to say about Amari Cooper as well, because I think the Browns have do I think they have one of the best receiving corps in the NFL? I mean, I wouldn't say maybe it's like outside. Like if you were ranking them, I'd probably put them like maybe slightly outside the top 10. Well, then again, I have to do a rankings list. I don't like doing rankings lists because it's very hard to rank anything, honestly. Well, it depends on what it is. If it's top 10, top 15, top 20. If you're doing top 5, I guess. But yeah, the Browns receiving core I think is decent, and of course David Njoku, the tight end, coming off of his best season. The Browns got playmakers, so I'm curious to see how it is now. They brought in Jerry Jeudy, so we'll see how it goes. But I did want to bring up what Andrew Berry had to say about Amari Cooper. He said, "What I will say about Amari is since he's been a member of the Cleveland Browns, he's obviously been a high-level Pro Bowl caliber receiver, but he's also a great teammate and he's a great professional. We're happy to have him as a member of the organization. Sometimes all teams will have periods where they go through this type of situation, but it does not change when it comes to Amari. We'll navigate the business considerations, the business aspects as it goes, but he is a big part of our team, and just as important, he's a big part of our culture." So yeah, I guess they're talking about because he's because he's in the final year of his 5-year contract that he signed back with the Cowboys because he did get traded. So it's just talking about his contract situation. But he is getting older. I think he is 30 now. He's 29, 30 years old. Yeah, he's been good for the Browns. Despite the QB carousel, he's done well with the Browns. But yeah, you got him, you got Jeudy, Njoku, Elijah Moore is also there as well. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's pretty much it when talking about the Browns. Andrew Berry, at least from his perspective, he's encouraged on where things are at with this team, with the quarterback, with the running back. So, we'll see how it goes for the Browns. And we'll talk about them in the final segment, but we are going to take our next break now. When we come back, we'll talk about Sean McVay, him kind of feeling rejuvenated with some of the changes that the Rams have gone through. And I'll get into that when we come back from our next break. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are going to talk about Sean McVay, the head coach of the Los Angeles Rams, and him kind of just feeling rejuvenated, being the head coach of the Rams, and kind of just some of the changes the Rams have gone through in recent years. So let's get into that. So he feels like this upcoming season is kind of like his first year of coaching back in 2017, because there's a lot of young players, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, because now with the retirement of Aaron Donald, the Rams needed to fill that void, and they did draft some defensive linemen to kind of address that hole that they now have. I'm not going to say that the guys that they got are going to replace Aaron Donald right away, but they had to do something. So I wanted to get into what McVay had to say specifically. Like I said, he feels like it's year one again. He said, what's cool, being around this group, and especially even last year, it feels like it's year one again. And he said, I really mean that. He also said, I feel like these last couple years, there's really just been a real renewed purpose and perspective that reminds you what a blessing this is. You kind of had lost that a little bit in the midst of the journey, especially things going well, and then obviously the challenging year in 22. There's a lot of cool things that have gone on with the people that I'm around and the coaches, but having that little guy too is a real easy reason to keep appropriate perspective and to make sure you're being the man and the model and what it looks like for him every day. And then, so that was what he had to say. Because if you go back to 2022, it was a rough year for the Rams. You had Matthew Stafford go down. You had Cooper Kupp go down. Aaron Donald also got hurt. It was a rough year for them. And even when everybody was healthy, the Rams, still something was off with them. It wasn't Super Bowl hangover, but it just, I don't know. They weren't as good as they were the previous season. Because you lost. Von Miller was not on the team. Andrew Whitworth retired because you could tell the offensive line just wasn't, doing well at times. Yeah, they really weren't running the football well. It was a lost season for the Rams. And that's kind of what led to all the speculation on, this could be it for Sean McVay. He might be going into broadcasting, which I was watching him a little bit on Chris Long's podcast last night. Yeah, he definitely could get into broadcasting, and he would have no issue with how he articulates his points and things like that. He's a well-spoken coach, and it was a challenging season for him, and I guess it got to him, and he had his doubts, like, you know what, maybe I should just hang it up and do something else, but that was not the case. And the Rams really did surprise people last year. You had Stafford come back healthy. Puka Nacua is a rising star. Kyron Williams, early on in the season, was playing well. Then he gets hurt. He comes back late in the year, and then that's when the Rams really started to, make a run and make the playoffs. Yeah, the Rams are back to being a team that you look at it and say, hey, this team is a playoff team right here. And I think that's going to be the case in 2024. Now, again, I want to see how the defense performs without Aaron Donald because, Aaron Donald is one of the best defensive players in the league, and he's one of the best defensive players of all time. And he's not there. Now, I know I did a segment earlier in the offseason where I talked about the general manager of the Rams kind of saying how that, he could kind of pull an Eric Weddle where, the Rams are gearing up for another playoff run and they come to Aaron Donald and say, we need you. And maybe he comes back. It doesn't seem like he's going to come back, but that at least, they're at least going to reach out in case they may need him. But yeah, he's not on the team anymore, and it's going to be weird not seeing him, going after the quarterback. But in one of his interviews, I think it was on on a podcast, he talked about how, he did basically everything he wanted to do. So he's got that Super Bowl ring. He doesn't feel the need to. Well, I think he would have liked to have won more championships, but I think, now with him retiring, he's at peace. So probably not going to come back. Maybe the Rams do reach out to him if they're in a good position to make another run, but yeah, he's probably not going to come back. But anyways, yeah, with Sean McVay, I think, him calling it a career after 22, I feel like that would have been a little premature because I feel like, he's still young for a head coach. I feel like you still can be one of the top coaches in the league. Look at all the other coaches that, not all the other coaches, but you see Pete Carroll, he's not around. He's not going to be on the sidelines. Bill Belichick, like those guys, yeah, you can understand from that perspective. But Sean McVay, he's got plenty of good years left to be a coach in the NFL. Like, why are you going to leave now? But when you look at the Rams, yeah, at some point Matthew Stafford, he's actually, I think he's looking for a new deal as well. But at some point Matthew Stafford's going to retire, so the Rams are going to have to address the quarterback position. Cooper Kupp's getting older. I still think he's got, a couple of good years left. But I think we're kind of transitioning now to a new number one wide receiver on that team. And Puka Nacua, I think, is taking over. But I think McVay said it, that Cooper Kupp just was dealing with injuries all of last year, and now he's fully healthy. So maybe we see, we did see a little bit of the Cooper Kupp that we saw when he won the Triple Crown, but I think also because in combination with Puka Nacua and, him dealing with injuries, yeah, we didn't really see that Cooper Kupp. I don't think we're going to see him have a kind of season like that again, but, maybe we see, something similar to that. And I think towards the end of the year, last year, we did see that. But, yeah, it's he did talk about this, I think, on Chris Long's podcast, Sean McVay, just how it's like the team itself, it's a nice blend of young guys and veterans. And I think that's what you want to have with an organization. You want to have that nice blend because you got the young guys that have the talent, but they need some guidance, and that's why you got the veterans there that could still produce, that can kind of guide them and bring them along. So, I do get that from that perspective. So, it's great to hear that he feels that, he has the passion again when it comes to coaching, and I hope he continues to be the coach of the Rams for a long time. Because he is one of the better coaches in the NFL. Now he's got that Super Bowl championship. And, we'll see what kind of season the Rams are going to have. Like I said, I don't really know what to expect from the defense. They also made moves in the secondary as well. Because the secondary, I think, was a little bit of an issue last year. They brought back Darius Williams and also another player, Curl from the, I think he was with the Commanders. So they did address the secondary. And they also, like I said, with Aaron Donald no longer there, they also they drafted I think Jared Verse, right, from Florida State, the edge rusher. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the defense is. And I think the offense is, of course, going to be good once again. I mean, it's hard to imagine they're not going to be, as good. I mean, Stafford played well last year. I mean, I think if Stafford's healthy, Stafford's going to go out there and have a good year. And you got the weapons. I think also bringing back, this is not really something that's huge, but I think also bringing back DeMarcus Robinson, I think that was a good move because he actually was playing well for them last year. So I think the receiving core is set with, of course, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua at the top. He got Kyron Williams. They also did draft Blake Corum out of Michigan, so that could be a nice 1-2 duo. Take some pressure off of Kyron Williams, because the Rams really didn't have, a backup running back when Kyron Williams went down. I mean, who else did they have? I think they still had Royce Freeman, who's now with Dallas. I think Ronnie Rivers they had last year, and I think I'm skipping out on somebody else. But yeah, they're looking for that backup running back, and Blake Corum, he could maybe take over as the lead back, but I don't know. I'm just saying that. But yeah, if Blake Corum and Kyron Williams, that could be a nice duo that they have in LA. So yeah, I mean the Rams, I think they're going to be a wild card team. I know it's very early, but I think they're going to be a wild card team. Because I look at the 49ers, I mean, they're still the class of the NFC West. I think they're going to win the division. But, the Rams are going to give them a run for their money, I feel like. And I still think, they're better than Seattle. And they're better than the Cardinals. So, I think just as long as, I think it's going to come down to health. I think Stafford still got some good years left as he's getting older. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to be a fun team to watch in 2024. So, we'll see how it goes. But, yeah, this was just something I wanted to touch upon. So, let me know what you guys think about what Sean McVay had to say. What kind of season do you think the Rams are going to have? Like I said, I think the Rams, they are going to be a good team. 9-10 win team. I feel like they're going to finish around the same rate. Because, 10-7 they went last year. So, I think we're going to see more of the same there. So, like I said, let me know what you guys think about the Rams. How do you see them doing in 2024? So, we are going to take our final break of the show. And then when we come back, we'll talk about the announcement of the AFC North being featured on Hard Knocks. So, I'll go over that and talk about that. And that is how we will end off the show for today. So, for one final time today, stick around. And we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're going to talk about the announcement of the AFC North being featured on Hard Knocks. So I know the Bears are going to be a team that's going to be on Hard Knocks. You also have the Giants. They're going to be on the off-season version of Hard Knocks. Now we have the announcement that the AFC North, the entire division, is now going to be featured on Hard Knocks as well. So I think I do have the details on that. So yeah, so HBO and NFL Films will document all 4 AFC North teams: the Ravens, the Bengals, the Browns, and the Steelers. And it's funny because how it's listed here is how I have them ranked in my AFC North ranking. So that's funny. For the for the 2024 Hard Knocks in season, this is the first time an entire division will be featured. The AFC North is notable for being the first division to have all 4 teams finish with winning records in 2023. The Ravens were featured in the first ever Hard Knocks. The Bengals appeared in 2009. The Cleveland Browns were featured in 2018. The Steelers will be making their debut on Hard Knocks. That's kind of hard to believe. But yeah. Also, some other notes from that. So, off-season with the New York Giants debuts on July 2nd. Training camp with the Chicago Bears starts on August 6th. And in-season with the AFC North debuts on December 3rd at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on HBO and will be available on Max. And I really don't understand why they labeled it as Max. What was wrong with HBO Max? I still call it HBO Max. I'm not going to call it Max. But anyways, so yeah, I think this is awesome. Again, I've been told to watch Hard Knocks, and I never really have. And I should have watched it last year when the Jets were on it, just because of everything, that happened with Aaron Rodgers, being brought into the fold. But I think now with the Giants being in it, well, the in-season one, or the off-season one, I definitely will check it out. Because I know there's that, and then you also have the quarterback series on Netflix that I still haven't fully watched yet. You also have the receiver one that's coming out as well, which I think I did a segment on that. So yeah, it's exciting. But when it comes to the AFC North, I mean, how many times have I said it? I've said it today. Arguably the best division in football. I think the toughest division in football. And I think it was only natural that, hey, let's put this whole division and then cover it in Hard Knocks. And there's a lot of storylines going into the season with this division. And I talked about the quarterback position. You got Lamar Jackson coming off of an MVP, and now you have Derrick Henry coming into the fold. So I think that's a very intriguing thing going into 2024. With the Bengals, all our eyes are going to be on Joe Burrow and his health, because he's been banged up a lot over the course of his career. And we're hoping that this is a healthy year for him. And you're coming off of now T. Higgins as well. He's, he signed the franchise tag. So this is going to be a big year for him, hopefully, as he's looking for that big contract. So we got Eric in the chat, host of the wrestling podcast. He said, everyone gets to be on Hard Knocks, the GSMC Football Podcast featuring Kenneth, also on Hard Knocks. LOL. Yeah, put me on Hard Knocks. Let me yell at some players to get their act together now. Maybe they'll use a clip of me, a soundbite in Hard Knocks during the year when I'm criticizing one of the teams. They'll use a soundbite for me. Well, we got to get some more viewers before that happens. But yeah, so I talked about the Bengals and some of their storylines. With the Browns, I mean, Deshaun Watson coming back from injury, Nick Chubb coming back from injury. There's that. The Steelers with their new quarterbacks, how is that dynamic going to be throughout the season. Russell Wilson's going to start out as being the starting quarterback, but could he struggle and that eventually lead to Justin Fields taking over? And of course, on the defensive side of the ball, you got TJ Watt. There's going to be a bunch of coverage on him as well. But yeah, and then you got the matchups. Like I said, let's see. So the Browns, they split with every team. They split with the Ravens. They split with the Steelers. No, the Steelers swept them. Actually, no. No, I'm getting confused. So the Browns, they split with the Steelers. They split with the Ravens, and they split with the Bengals. The Ravens, they got swept by the Steelers. They split with the Browns, and they swept the Bengals. Bengals, they got swept by the Steelers. They split with the Browns, and then they got swept by the Ravens. And then the Steelers swept the Ravens, swept the Bengals, split with the Browns. So I think I went over everybody, right? Yeah, so, these teams are going to beat up on each other. And I just hope that all the quarterbacks stay healthy. Because the other thing I was thinking, too, is, since, when Joe Burrow got hurt his rookie season, right? Then he goes on that run to the Super Bowl in 2021. And then, so he made it to back-to-back AFC Championship games in 2021 and 2022. And Lamar Jackson got hurt. Lamar Jackson was hurt both of those years. Then, last year, Joe Burrow gets hurt. Lamar Jackson makes it to the AFC Championship game. Now, what do those teams have in common the last 2 years? Now, Burrow did beat him, but the last 2 years, Patrick Mahomes has beaten Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow in the championship games. So I thought that was interesting, that Joe Burrow, he made it to back-to-back AFC Championship games, and Lamar Jackson was hurt both of those years. And then last year, Lamar Jackson was fully healthy. Joe Burrow gets hurt, and Lamar Jackson makes it to the AFC Championship game. Now, I'm just hoping none of those guys get hurt. So Eric says, who's going to have a better comeback season for quarterback? Watson, Fields, Wilson, or Burrow? Okay, so the first thing I would say is Fields and Wilson. I think as of right now, Russell Wilson's going to be the starter. So I'm probably not going to say them. It's going to come down to either Watson or Burrow. Now, for me, I worry more about Deshaun Watson coming back as opposed to Joe Burrow, because I don't know if Deshaun Watson is going to play well. If Joe Burrow's healthy, I think Joe Burrow is going to play well. I think Deshaun Watson, I talked about this a couple of segments ago when I was talking about the Browns, is just that consistency when it comes to Deshaun Watson. That's what I worry about. With Joe Burrow, I think if he's healthy, I think he's going to go out there and he's going to have the best season out of the three other guys that you mentioned. So that's what I would say. But I did also say that the Bengals do have a habit of getting off to slow starts. Now, last year, I think it just had to do with Burrow's health. The year before that, yeah, because they, I forget who they lost to in week 1. Oh, wait, no, they lost to the Steelers in week 1. And then they lost to Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. So, yeah, they got up to a slow start. But, yeah, last year it had to do with Joe Burrow's health. I think if Burrow's healthy, they're playing the Patriots to start off the year, so I think that is a good start for them. I think that should get them off on the right foot, in my opinion. Sorry, Patriot fans, don't want to disrespect you, but I think the Bengals should win in week 1, even though, again, we're still only in June, but that's just my opinion. So I would say, to make a long story short, even though I kind of went long there, I think Joe Burrow, out of him, Deshaun Watson, Justin Fields, and Russell Wilson, Joe Burrow is going to have the best season of those quarterbacks. So that's just my opinion. But it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this division. Like I said, this division is arguably the best division in football, and I think you're going to see that on full display And it's going to be magnified when, we get the inside look on these teams, throughout the year. So, I'm looking for, well, actually, never mind, because it's going to be in December is when, it comes out. But I'm looking forward to it. So, yeah, Hard Knocks is really going all out. You got the off season, you got training camp, and then you got the in season one. So there's a lot going on, a lot of Hard Knocks, which I think I should really try to, digest it this year and commit to that, so I can, so we could talk about it, some sound bites from it, things of that nature. So, yeah, so I'm excited for that. And Eric says, remember the success in New Orleans with the combination of Drew Brees and Taysom Hill. Can we see that in Pittsburgh with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson? You know what? That is a good point. Maybe we see that, but I don't think you're going to see Justin Fields, catching passes. I think what you might see, Taysom Hill has run with the football. You could definitely see that. Because if you do remember, you go back to Fields' rookie season. I know week 1, they had him line up at the goal line against the Rams, and that was when the Rams destroyed the Bears on Sunday night. They had Fields running in for a touchdown. I feel like you might see, Fields come in and run the football a little bit, maybe. I know there was that talk that maybe he could return kicks. I think that'd be ridiculous if they do that. I feel like, I could see it. I don't think you're going to see it very often. Like I said, I don't think you're going to see Justin Fields lining up as a receiver and going out and catching passes and being the Steelers' number 3 wideout. But I could definitely see him lining up in some formations that the Steelers may have, with Russell Wilson on the field. So, we'll have to wait and see. But, yeah, so I'm going to put a bow on it today. That is all the time that we have. Eric, appreciate the comments. I'll see you in about 20 minutes. Make sure to check out Eric's show, the wrestling podcast. That is, I want to say it's 11:30 Eastern time, I want to say. I might have the time wrong. It's either 11:30 or 12 a.m. Eastern time. It's one of the two. But yeah, because he's much later than me. My show is in the morning. His is, when I'm coming home from work sometimes. Make sure to check out his show. Make sure to check out all the other shows on the network, like I said before. Eric says, when you coming on, my friend? At some point. Oh, well, okay. He said 8 p.m., but I know we're in different time zones. So that's 12 a.m. my time. So, at some point. Listen, I'm not really a big wrestling fan, so there's not that much I'm really going to be able to add to the conversation. But if we do those teams again, those team shows, hopefully I'll be in your group, because it'd be a lot of fun. So make sure to check out Eric's show, check out all the other shows, and that's pretty much it for the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.